Chapter 1, The Breaking Point, When Enough is Enough. There comes a moment in life when you look around and realize, this can't be it. The stress, the sleepless nights, the constant juggling between bills and dreams. You feel like you're working hard, yet sinking deeper. You tell yourself, next month will be different. But somehow the story keeps repeating. That's the breaking point. It's not just about money. It's about the feeling of being trapped. By debt, by fear, by habits that no longer serve you. It's about waking up tired, not because you worked too hard, but because you're mentally drained from fighting a silent battle every day. If that sounds familiar, don't look away from it. Because that moment, the one that hurts, the one that makes you whisper, I can't live like this anymore, is where transformation begins. The truth is, most people don't change when they want to. They change when they have to. When the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of change. Debt is not just numbers on a statement. It's emotional weight. It's shame, frustration, guilt, and sometimes even silence. It creeps into your confidence, your relationships, and your sense of worth. But here's what no one tells you. Debt doesn't define you, it reveals you. It shows you your habits, your mindset, your relationship with money. And once you start seeing it not as punishment but as a mirror, everything begins to shift. See, the journey from debt to wealth doesn't start with a pay raise. It starts with an awakening, a decision to stop living in financial autopilot and start taking control. Because the real battle isn't between you and your bills. It's between your old self and your new one. The old self says, I'll fix it later. The new self says, I start now. The old self believes money is the problem. The new self understands, money is a reflection of behavior, belief, and focus. You can't out-earn a broken mindset. You can't save your way out of habits that sabotage you. And you can't create wealth if you secretly believe you don't deserve it. So before we talk about strategies, budgets, or investments, we need to talk about you. Your mind. Your story. Your relationship with money. Because every financial breakthrough begins in the mind. If you've ever said things like, I'm just not good with money, or, I'll always be in debt, realize this, those aren't facts. Those are scripts. Old programming running in the background, shaping your behavior. And the good news? Scripts can be rewritten. It starts the moment you stop identifying with your struggle. You are not broke. You're becoming aware. You're waking up. And that awareness, that spark of clarity, is the first step toward freedom. Let's face it, most of us were never taught how to think about money. We were taught how to earn it but not how to manage it. We were told to chase security, not to create abundance. So we grew up working hard, yet never feeling ahead, stuck in cycles we didn't even realize we inherited. But here's the truth. You can break any financial pattern the moment you decide to stop repeating it. Debt is not your identity, it's a situation. And situations can change. It doesn't matter if you're deep in loans, behind on payments, or afraid to even check your balance. What matters is that you've reached the moment where you've said, enough. That's the moment that separates victims from victors. Because once you reach that breaking point, something powerful happens. Your energy shifts. You stop blaming. You start owning. You stop wishing. You start building. That's the moment you stop seeing money as something outside of you, and start seeing it as something that flows through you. You start asking better questions. How can I grow from this? What does this teach me about discipline, patience, and vision? And slowly you begin to understand that wealth isn't about how much you have, it's about how you think. Debt is noise. Wealth is clarity. And clarity begins with awareness. If you're listening to this, it means that part of you already knows there's more, that you're capable of rewriting your money story. So breathe. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just at the start of a new chapter. And maybe this is the first time you're hearing someone say it, but you can do this. You can get out of debt. You can build wealth. You can shift your mindset so completely that one day you'll look back and say, that struggle was the reason I learned how powerful I really am. This is where your story changes, not with luck, not with a miracle, but with a decision. A decision to stop running from your money and start understanding it. A decision to stop fearing what's in your bank account and start mastering what's in your mind. This is the moment that everything turns. The breaking point is the beginning of your breakthrough. Chapter 2, The Illusion of Debt. Why Most People Stay Trapped. Debt isn't just a number, it's a story. And for most people, that story is built on illusion. An illusion that says, I need this to survive. An illusion that whispers, everyone lives like this. An illusion that convinces you that owing is normal, that credit is convenience, that borrowing equals progress. But here's the truth, debt isn't freedom disguised. It's control disguised as opportunity. From a young age, we're trained to accept debt as a part of life. You're told, you'll need a loan to go to school. You'll need a car payment to get to work. You'll need a credit card to build a score. And before you even realize it, you're living in a world where owing has become normal. But debt has a hidden cost, not just in money but in mental peace. It keeps you chasing, always slightly behind, always reaching for that next paycheck that never feels enough. And the most dangerous part? You start believing that's just the way it is. That belief, not the debt itself, is what traps most people for life. Because debt feeds off acceptance. It needs you to believe that it's permanent, that it's necessary, that it's part of adulting. But the moment you question that belief, the illusion starts to crack. Here's the harsh reality. Debt sells you comfort today in exchange for freedom tomorrow. It offers you the lifestyle before you've earned it, and charges you interest on your impatience. And society praises that. You're rewarded for appearances, not stability. You're taught to look successful, not be successful. The system thrives when you're comfortable being uncomfortable, working just enough to stay afloat but never enough to break free. That's why debt isn't just a financial issue, it's a mindset trap. Because once you believe that your worth is tied to what you own, or what you owe, you become a lifelong customer to the illusion. But wealth is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need display. Wealth isn't about showing off, it's about showing up, day after day for your future self. And the first step toward wealth is seeing debt for what it truly is, a transaction of time. When you take on debt, you're not just borrowing money, you're borrowing future hours of your life. You're trading tomorrow's freedom for today's comfort. You're saying, I'll pay with my future effort what I want right now. That's the real cost, not the interest rate but the interest in your potential. The illusion of debt keeps you focused on paying bills instead of building assets. It keeps you surviving instead of strategizing. And that's how people get stuck for decades, smart, hardworking people. Not because they don't make enough but because their mindset was hijacked. The credit system doesn't just measure your worth, it molds your behavior. It rewards spending, not saving. It praises activity, not stability. And it's built on one powerful idea: keep them chasing. But here's what most never realize: when you live in debt, you live in delay. You delay peace. You delay freedom. You delay the version of yourself that doesn't wake up worried about money. And you can't build wealth while living in delay. Wealth requires focus. Debt breeds distraction. And as long as your attention is chained to your obligations, it can't be free to create opportunities. That's why the mindset shift is everything. Because escaping debt isn't about paying it off faster. It's about thinking differently about why it exists. Ask yourself, what am I really buying when I go into debt? Am I buying time? Happiness? Validation? Escape? When you get honest with that question, you'll start seeing the truth behind every purchase. And that truth will either empower you or expose you. Debt makes you feel in control at first. You swipe, you sign, you walk away with what you want. But over time, it's the debt that owns you. Your future decisions, your dreams, even your peace, they all start revolving around your payments. And here's the scariest part: when you've lived in that cycle long enough, you stop dreaming altogether. You start thinking smaller. You play it safe. Because the illusion teaches you to survive, not to thrive. But you weren't built just to survive. You were built to expand, to create, to build something lasting. Breaking the illusion means remembering that money is a tool, not a master. It's energy that flows, and when you start directing it with purpose, everything changes. The shift begins when you realize you don't owe your future to your past mistakes. You owe it to your potential. Debt might have slowed you down, but it doesn't get to define your direction. You can learn from it, grow beyond it, and use it as the very reason you rise. Every great comeback starts with truth, and this is yours. You don't have to stay in the system that profits from your struggle. You can step out. You can build differently. You can make money work for you instead of through you. It starts with awareness, not fear. With vision, not shame. With choice, not habit. The illusion only has power when you stop questioning it. But now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending debt is normal when freedom feels this close. So take a deep breath. This is where the fog starts to clear. Because once you see through the illusion, you start walking toward reality. And that reality, the one built on clarity, ownership, and intentional growth, is where your wealth story truly begins. Chapter 3, The Wealth Mindset, Rewiring How You See Money. Money doesn't change people, it reveals them. It amplifies who you already are and how you already think. That's why before money multiplies in your hands, it must first expand in your mind. You can't build wealth with a poverty mindset. You can't attract abundance while thinking in scarcity. And you can't hold on to success with the same beliefs that built your struggle. If you want to shift from debt to wealth, it's not about learning every financial trick or budgeting formula. It starts with rewiring how you see money itself. Because your relationship with money is emotional before it's logical. How you spend, save, invest, or give comes down to one thing: what you believe about it. Let's get real. Most people were never taught to think with money, they were taught to think about money from a place of fear. Phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford that, or rich people are greedy, got planted in your mind when you were young. And those phrases didn't just describe money, they programmed your identity. Over time they turned into invisible walls. Walls that said you can't. Walls that said you shouldn't. Walls that said it's not for people like you. And here's the danger. If those beliefs go unchallenged, you'll subconsciously push wealth away even when opportunity knocks. Because the human mind will always return to what feels familiar, even if that familiar is struggle. That's why people who finally earn more money often end up right back where they started. They didn't upgrade the operating system of their mindset. They just changed the number on the screen. To move from debt to wealth, you must build a mindset that no longer operates in survival mode. You have to stop asking, how can I make ends meet? And start asking, how can I expand the ends entirely? It's not about working harder, it's about thinking bigger. Wealthy people don't think in terms of cost, they think in terms of value. They don't focus on what they'll lose, they focus on what they'll gain. They don't chase money, they create systems that attract it. Here's what most don't realize. Money is not loyal to effort, it's loyal to intention. It flows where clarity and confidence exist. If you keep seeing money as something that's slipping away from you, that's exactly how it will behave. But if you start treating it as energy that multiplies through your purpose, your relationship with it changes. Wealth is not about how much you earn, it's about how much you retain and grow. Debt says, I need this now. Wealth says, I'll build it and multiply it later. Debt consumes, wealth creates. So let's rewire your internal dialogue around money. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, start saying, how can I afford that? Instead of saying, I don't have enough, say, how can I create more? Instead of saying, I'm broke, say, I'm in the process of building wealth. Language is power. Every word you repeat programs your subconscious mind, and your subconscious controls your financial thermostat. You can't rise to new levels with old sentences. Wealthy people aren't lucky, they're intentional. They decide their direction before opportunity arrives. They visualize abundance before they experience it. They expect success before they have proof. And that's the difference: expectation. Scarcity expects loss. Abundance expects growth. You can feel it in how people talk. Someone stuck in debt talks about bills, survival, and stress. Someone growing in wealth talks about investments, impact, and expansion. Your words reveal your financial frequency. So ask yourself right now, what have I been saying about money lately? Do I speak from frustration or from faith? Do I talk about limits or possibilities? Do I see money as a problem or as a partner? The wealthy mindset treats money like a seed. It's meant to be planted, not hoarded. The more wisely you sow it, the greater the harvest. But most people never plant because they're afraid of losing the seed. They keep it in their pocket, safe but useless. That's how fear kills growth, not through action but through inaction. Wealth comes from motion. Money loves speed and direction. It doesn't grow in confusion, it grows in clarity. When you start making decisions from a place of confidence instead of fear, everything shifts. You begin seeing opportunities that were always there, you just couldn't recognize them before because your vision was clouded by survival. You begin saving not because you're scared but because you have a strategy. You begin investing not because it's trendy but because you finally understand value. You begin to own your money story instead of letting your money story own you. And here's the beautiful part. The wealth mindset is learned. No one is born with it. It's built through awareness, repetition, and action. You train it daily by how you think, speak, and move. Every time you choose growth over fear, you strengthen it. Every time you delay gratification, you reinforce it. Every time you think long-term, you become it. The debt mindset says, I need it now. The wealth mindset says, I'm building forever. And when that shift becomes real in you, everything else follows. Your habits, your choices, your confidence, your results. Because the truth is, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you want to attract abundance, you must become abundant in thought. If you want to attract opportunity, you must think in possibility. If you want to attract wealth, you must first think like wealth. This is not about pretending or faking success. It's about alignment, bringing your beliefs and your behavior into harmony with your goals. You can't say you want freedom but keep making decisions from fear. You can't say you want growth but keep repeating the same limiting patterns. You can't say you want wealth while treating money like the enemy. Your thoughts are the foundation. And once they shift, your life follows. This is the mindset that separates those who break free from those who stay stuck. They stop asking, can I afford it? And start asking, can I grow into it? They stop focusing on the price and start focusing on the payoff. They stop fearing debt and start mastering discipline. The real wealth isn't in your account, it's in your awareness. Because once your mind expands, your money follows. You can rebuild, recover, and rise. You can go from surviving to thriving. You can become the kind of person who doesn't just make money, but makes a difference with it. This is where your shift begins, not in your wallet but in your way of thinking. You don't need to chase wealth, you need to think wealthy. And the moment you do, money stops being something you fear losing, and starts becoming something you confidently build. Chapter 4: The Power of Financial Awareness. Most people don't have a money problem, they have an awareness problem. They know how to earn, they know how to spend, but they don't know how to see. You can't change what you don't notice. You can't fix what you refuse to face. And when it comes to money, what you don't track will quietly control your life. Financial awareness is the point where wealth begins. Because the moment you become conscious of where your money is actually going, you stop being controlled by impulse and start being guided by intention. It's not about being obsessive or miserly, it's about taking back command. The truth is, every dollar you earn has a destination. It's either building your freedom or feeding your frustration. The question is, do you know which one it's doing right now? Awareness changes everything. Think about it, how many times have you looked at your account and wondered, where did all my money go? That's not a budgeting issue. That's a blindness issue. You weren't paying attention and life charged you interest for it. Wealthy people don't get wealthy because they're smarter, they get wealthy because they're aware. They see patterns before problems. They track progress before crisis. They know exactly where their money lies and where it's headed next. You don't have to be rich to think this way, but you have to think this way to become rich. Financial awareness is not glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's the difference between wishing for wealth and working toward it. Here's what awareness does. It removes the fog. It lets you see your habits for what they are, not excuses but choices. Every swipe, every click, it's just $5, is a vote. And the sum of your votes decides who you become financially. So if you want to move from debt to wealth, start by getting brutally honest with yourself. Where does your money go? What triggers your spending? What stories justify your choices? Because money is emotional, and awareness makes it rational. Here's a truth that changed everything for me. When you start tracking your money, you start respecting your money. And what you respect grows. Awareness builds discipline, and discipline builds freedom. That's why the first step toward mastering your finances is not earning more, it's knowing more. Know your inflows. Know your outflows. Know your habits. Know your leaks. You can't manage a river if you don't know where it flows. So make this your turning point. No more hiding from the numbers. Face them. List them. Study them. Not with guilt, but with gratitude, because knowledge is power and power is freedom. Start simple. For the next 30 days, write down everything you spend. Every coffee, every subscription, every "I'll pay it later." At first it'll shock you. Then it'll humble you. And finally, it'll empower you. because suddenly you'll see patterns. And patterns are the clues that point you toward change. You'll notice emotional spending, those times when you buy to feel better, not because you need it. You'll see convenience spending, where laziness costs you more than effort ever would. And you'll recognize distraction spending, those little treats that keep you from facing the bigger picture. Awareness doesn't shame you, it saves you. It's not about cutting everything out. It's about aligning your spending with your values. When you know what matters most, you stop paying for what doesn't. Most people don't go broke because of one big mistake, they go broke through 1,000 small ones. They don't notice the $10 here, the $15 there, the monthly subscription they never use. But every leak drains your future. Awareness plugs the leaks. It teaches you to pause before purchase, to plan before panic. It gives you control, not through restriction but through direction. Because when you know where your money's going, you can tell it where to go. You stop reacting and start commanding. And that shift, from emotional reaction to intentional control, is what separates the financially free from the financially fragile. Here's something most people never realize. Wealth isn't about numbers, it's about clarity. You can have $10,000 in your account and still feel broke if you don't know what it's doing for you. You can have $100 and feel empowered if you know where every dollar belongs. Awareness transforms scarcity into strategy. It turns chaos into calm. It turns debt into data, something you can work with, not run from. When you see your full financial picture, even the messy parts, you gain one thing most people never have: choice. Because awareness gives you options. And options create opportunity. Without awareness, you're guessing. With awareness, you're growing. The wealthy don't just know how much they make, they know what their money means. They connect every dollar to a purpose. Some build their future. Some fuel their present. Some give to others. But none are wasted. And when you assign purpose to your money, you stop being its victim and start being its visionary. This is where control begins, not with more income but with more intention. Because no amount of money can save someone who's unaware of how they use it. Financial awareness is your light in the dark. It exposes what's been hidden, it breaks the cycle of "I don't know," and it empowers you to build a life that finally makes sense. So here's your challenge. Open your eyes to your financial reality. Track it. Face it. Learn from it. Don't be afraid of what you'll see, be excited that you'll finally see. Because once you see it, you can shape it. Once you measure it, you can manage it. And once you own it, it can never own you again. Remember, you can't master what you ignore. And awareness, honest, consistent, empowering awareness, is where your journey from debt to wealth truly begins. Chapter 5. Breaking the Scarcity Cycle. Scarcity is not about how much money you have, it's about how much you believe you can have. It's a mindset, a quiet voice that whispers, "There's never enough," even when there is. It makes you rush when you should be patient. It makes you cling when you should create. And if you don't break it, scarcity will shape every financial decision you make. The scarcity cycle starts early. You grow up hearing it, "We can't afford that." You see your parents stress about bills. You watch people measure life by what they lack instead of what they can build. And slowly, without realizing it, you absorb those beliefs. You start equating money with stress, opportunity with risk, and abundance with luck. But here's the truth: scarcity isn't reality. It's a perspective. A lens that focuses only on what's missing while blurring everything that's possible. Scarcity keeps you chasing survival when you were meant to live in strategy. It tells you to hold tight, to never risk, to always play small. It convinces you that taking control is dangerous, that stepping out of the familiar will leave you with less, when in fact staying where you are is what costs you the most. To break the scarcity cycle, you must first understand how it operates. It works in patterns, predictable, invisible patterns. Pattern 1. Fear of letting go. Scarcity makes you hold on to everything: money, possessions, even bad habits. You keep things just in case. You delay giving, delay investing, delay trusting. You tell yourself you're being cautious, but in truth you're just afraid. And fear is expensive. Because every time you refuse to release, you also refuse to receive. Money flows in cycles: earn, use, grow, give. When you interrupt that flow, you block your own abundance. Wealthy people don't cling to every dollar, they direct every dollar. They know that giving, whether through generosity or smart investment, multiplies value. They understand that the hand that gives is the same hand that grows. You can't grow if you're gripping in fear. You must open your hand, first mentally then financially. Pattern 2. Comparing and competing. Scarcity makes you believe that someone else's success reduces your own chances. It whispers, if they win you lose. That's why social media can trigger so much anxiety. It feeds the illusion of competition. But abundance doesn't compete, it creates. Someone else's wealth doesn't take away yours, it proves it's possible. The wealthy see others' success as information, not intimidation. They ask, what can I learn from that? Instead of, why not me? When you celebrate someone else's progress, you're telling the universe, I'm ready for mine too. Jealousy repels what gratitude attracts. Pattern 3. Thinking short-term. Scarcity is always in a hurry. It says, I need results now. It pushes you to make decisions that bring comfort today but cost you freedom tomorrow. It keeps you trapped in quick fixes, loans, impulse spending, shortcuts. Wealth, on the other hand, plays the long game. It understands that patience compounds. It knows that every seed takes time to grow. Breaking the scarcity cycle means teaching yourself to think long-term even when it hurts. To save when you could spend. To wait when you could rush. To build when you could borrow. Short-term comfort is the enemy of long-term growth. Pattern 4. Distrusting opportunity. When you live in scarcity, opportunity feels suspicious. You see it and think, it's too good to be true. You hesitate, overthink, and miss the moment. That's the tragedy of the scarcity mindset. It doesn't just block risk, it blocks reward. It makes you blind to the doors that could change your life because you're too focused on the locks. But here's a fact. Every wealthy person you admire once took a risk that scared them. They didn't wait until they felt ready, they trusted their growth more than their fear. You don't break scarcity by waiting for security. You break it by building confidence. Pattern 5. Living in reaction instead of intention. Scarcity keeps you reactive, always responding, never designing. You wait for payday. You react to bills. You survive the month. And because you're reacting, you're never creating. Wealthy people live by design, not default. They decide their priorities in advance. They plan their days, their budgets, their goals. They don't wait for stability to act. They act to create stability. And that's the ultimate secret. Wealth doesn't start with money. It starts with mental order. When your thoughts are scattered, your finances follow. But when your thoughts are structured, your wealth begins to form. So, how do you break the cycle for good? Step 1. Shift from scarcity to stewardship. Stop seeing money as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something that happens through you. You're not a victim of your finances, you're the manager of them. Every dollar has a purpose, and your job is to assign it wisely. Step 2. Practice gratitude every day. Scarcity says, I don't have enough. Gratitude says, I have more than I realize. And gratitude attracts more. When you focus on what's working, what's growing, what's improving, you shift your vibration. You move from frustration to faith. You begin to see possibilities where you once saw problems. Step 3. Replace fear with faithful action. Don't wait to feel abundant, act abundant. Save even when it's small. Invest even when it's uncomfortable. Give even when it stretches you. Action breaks fear faster than thought ever will. You build confidence not by waiting for proof, but by becoming the proof. Step 4. Speak the language of abundance. Stop using scarcity words like broke, can't, or barely. Start speaking growth. I'm building, I'm improving, I'm learning. Your words train your mind, and your mind directs your results. Step 5. Visualize your financial freedom daily. See it. Feel it. Walk in it mentally before it exists physically. Scarcity reacts to what's missing. Abundance responds to what's coming. When you start expecting wealth instead of fearing lack, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your actions follow. Breaking the scarcity cycle isn't a one-time event, it's a daily decision. You'll feel the pull of old beliefs. You'll hear the whisper of not enough. But every time you push back with truth, you weaken its hold. The world will always tell you to play small, stay safe, and settle. But you weren't built for survival, you were built for expansion. You're not meant to spend your life counting what's missing. You're meant to multiply what's present. Scarcity is a shadow that fades when you step into awareness. And awareness grows into abundance when you start moving, even if it's one small, brave step at a time. So take that step today. Don't wait until you have enough to act. Act now, and enough will find you. Because once you break the scarcity cycle, you'll realize something powerful. You were never lacking. You were simply looking in the wrong direction. Abundance was waiting, all along, for you to believe it existed. Chapter 6: Building New Money Beliefs. You can't build a new financial life with an old financial identity. If your beliefs about money don't change, your results never will. Because no matter how hard you work, how much you save, or how many strategies you try, your beliefs will always pull you back to what feels familiar. Money follows mindset. Always. Every habit you have with money, from how you spend it, save it, or fear it, flows from the beliefs you've been carrying for years. Beliefs you didn't even choose consciously. They came from your environment, your upbringing, your culture, your past mistakes. You heard things like, money is the root of all evil. Rich people are selfish. People like us just don't get ahead. Easy come, easy go. And without realizing it, those phrases became programming, subconscious code that now runs your financial life. So before you can become wealthy, you must first rewrite the code. Because you cannot rise above the story you keep telling yourself. If deep down you believe that money is wrong, or that it's hard to get, or that you don't deserve it, your brain will make sure that belief stays true no matter how much you try to change. Your subconscious mind is powerful. It's the autopilot of your life. It doesn't argue, it doesn't analyze, it simply obeys the most repeated ideas. So, if your repeated thoughts are, I'll never get out of debt. I'm not good with money. I can't save, I've tried. Then your mind takes those words as commands, not complaints. That's why people stay stuck. They're fighting their results instead of rewriting their roots. The foundation of your wealth isn't built in your wallet, it's built in your mind. So how do you rebuild it? How do you plant new beliefs that actually produce wealth, peace, and purpose? It starts with 3 steps: awareness, alignment, and action. Step 1. Awareness. Identify the old beliefs. You can't fix what you won't face. So the first step is to uncover what you actually believe about money. Ask yourself questions that force honesty. What do I think money says about me? What do I feel when I check my bank account? What kind of people do I think the rich are? What do I think I'll lose if I become wealthy? Those answers reveal your conditioning. If you feel guilt around money, it's likely you were taught that wanting more makes you greedy. If you feel fear, you were probably taught that money disappears easily. If you feel pressure, you might believe that your worth is tied to your income. But here's the truth. None of those beliefs are facts. They're just repeated opinions. And the more often you've heard them, the more real they feel. The key is awareness. You can't change what you still defend. So start noticing the language you use. When you say things like, I can't afford it, or, I'm not good with money, pause. Ask yourself, is this the truth, or is this a belief I've been carrying too long? That question alone begins to loosen the grip of the past. Step 2. Alignment. Replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Once you identify the old beliefs, don't just reject them, replace them. Nature hates a vacuum. If you remove an old thought and don't replace it with something stronger, the old one will come crawling back. So write down new truths. Create statements that align with your new identity. Money flows to me because I add value. I deserve wealth because I use it wisely. I am a good steward of my resources. I attract opportunities that multiply my income. Wealth allows me to make a greater impact. At first, your mind will resist. It will call these affirmations unrealistic or cheesy. That's normal, it's just your old programming trying to survive. But repetition rewires reality. The more you repeat truth, the louder it becomes. And soon it won't feel like you're trying to believe, it'll feel like you're remembering who you really are. Your new beliefs should feel empowering but also possible. They should stretch you without disconnecting from reality. Because belief without credibility feels fake, and your mind rejects fake. So start small, build momentum, and let your belief grow stronger as your behavior backs it up. For example, if you start saving even a small amount consistently, your brain begins to say, see? I am disciplined with money. And once you see it, you believe it. Belief grows from evidence, not from hope. So give yourself evidence every day through action. Step 3. Action. Reinforce belief with behavior. Beliefs without behavior are like seeds that never touch soil. They might look inspiring, but they'll never grow roots. So take action that supports your new money story. If you believe, I'm a wealth builder, then act like one. Track your money, invest your time wisely, make decisions with the future in mind. If you believe I deserve abundance, then start setting boundaries with your time and energy, because abundance begins with self-respect. If you believe money flows to me, then position yourself in spaces where opportunity flows too, learning, networking, creating. Your behavior teaches your brain what to believe. That's how change sticks. And here's something powerful. When your new beliefs and new actions start working together, your identity shifts. You stop trying to become wealthy, you are wealthy in mindset. And the external results eventually catch up. The science of belief and the energy of money. Money responds to energy, and belief is energy in thought form. When you carry guilt, fear, or scarcity, you emit resistance. You repel opportunities because deep down, you don't trust yourself to handle them. But when you believe from a place of confidence, clarity, and gratitude, your energy becomes magnetic. That's why the wealthy seem lucky. They're not lucky, they're aligned. Their inner frequency matches their outer goals. They believe money is abundant, and so it is. They believe opportunity is everywhere, and so they find it. They believe they can recover from mistakes, and so they keep growing. Belief creates focus, and focus creates results. You can't fake energy. You can't speak abundance but live in fear. You must embody it. Start talking about money differently. Stop using the language of stress and start using the language of strength. Stop saying one day, and start saying, now I'm building. Stop viewing money as an enemy, start seeing it as a partner in your purpose. The new money identity. Once you've broken down the old beliefs and replaced them with truth, you begin to see money differently. You no longer chase it, you attract it. You no longer fear it, you manage it. You no longer depend on it, you direct it. Your new identity becomes clear. You are no longer a consumer, you are a creator. You are no longer a victim of your finances, you are a visionary for your future. You are no longer reacting to scarcity, you are responding to abundance. And that shift, that deep internal rewiring, is what changes everything. Because once your beliefs align with wealth, your habits start matching, your energy starts rising, and your results start multiplying. You don't have to force it anymore. It begins to flow, naturally, powerfully, consistently. So as you move forward, remember this. You can't outwork a limiting belief. You can't outperform a broken money story. But the moment you choose to rebuild your beliefs, everything else falls into place. Your income, your peace, your opportunities, your freedom. Because wealth isn't built by what's in your hands, it's built by what's in your head. And once you believe differently, you start to live differently. You start to spend differently. You start to become the person your wealth has been waiting for all along. Chapter 7. Discipline over desire, the wealth formula. Everyone wants wealth. Everyone wants freedom. But not everyone is willing to do what wealth requires. Because the truth is, success isn't built on motivation, it's built on discipline. Desire might light the fire, but discipline keeps it burning when the excitement fades. You see, discipline is not about punishment, it's about power. It's the bridge between your intentions and your results. It's the quiet force that says, I don't feel like it, but I'll do it anyway. If you look at any person who's built lasting wealth, not just temporary success, they all share one thing in common. They mastered discipline before they mastered money. They understand something simple but profound. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Let's be honest. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they don't do what they know. They get inspired for a moment, but the moment they face resistance, comfort takes over. That's why you can't rely on motivation. It's an emotion. And emotions are unstable. One day you feel unstoppable, the next you feel defeated. But discipline? Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares about who you said you'd become. The price of comfort. Comfort is seductive. It whispers things like, you deserve to rest. You can do it tomorrow. One more scroll won't hurt. And before you realize it, you've traded progress for pleasure, momentum for momentary relief. That's how the average person lives, constantly giving in to their feelings instead of standing on their principles. But here's what the wealthy and wise know. Comfort kills growth. Every dream you have will demand a version of you that can say no to easy things. Because if you can't say no to the small distractions, you'll never have the strength to say yes to big opportunities. The path to wealth is not paved with lucky breaks. It's paved with consistent, boring, repetitive actions done when nobody's watching. Budgeting, saving, learning, investing, refining, repeating. That's the grind that builds greatness. You want to change your financial life? Then start by mastering your daily life. The discipline of consistency. Discipline is not about doing everything right, it's about doing the right things consistently. When you're trying to shift from debt to wealth, consistency beats intensity every single time. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to commit to small, repeated actions that move the needle. Save $5 a day. Learn something about money for 10 minutes every morning. Track every dollar for a week. Do it again next week. Then again the next. At first, it feels insignificant. But as you build repetition, your brain starts forming identity-based habits. You stop saying, "I'm trying to manage my money," and you start saying, "I'm someone who's disciplined with money." That identity shift is the foundation of real wealth. Because discipline doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you become. The science of self-control. Let's break it down. Every time you resist an impulse, whether it's spending on something unnecessary or skipping your daily goal, your brain builds mental muscle. Self-control is like strength training. You don't lift a heavy weight once and call yourself strong. You build muscle through repetition and resistance. Likewise, every act of discipline, every time you say no when it's inconvenient, strengthens your self-mastery. And over time, that mental muscle becomes automatic. You stop having to fight yourself, because your habits fight for you. That's when the real power begins. Wealthy people don't make better choices because they're special. They make better choices because they've trained themselves to. And that training starts with small, consistent, disciplined steps. Emotion versus execution. You can't build wealth if your emotions are in control. The market will fluctuate. Your income will fluctuate. Life will test you. But discipline creates stability even when circumstances change. It's easy to stay positive when everything's working. But discipline is proven when everything's falling apart, and you still stick to your principles. That's the real wealth mindset. I don't react to life. I respond with purpose. Discipline is what helps you stay calm in chaos. It's what helps you stick to your plan when fear tries to pull you away. It's what reminds you that temporary emotions should never make permanent decisions. Think about it, how many financial mistakes come from emotions? Impulse buys, fear-driven selling, revenge spending after a bad week. All emotional. When you operate from discipline instead of desire, you take back control of your financial story. Discipline is freedom. This might sound ironic, but it's true. Discipline creates freedom. When you live with discipline, you don't need willpower every day. You don't rely on random motivation or emotional highs. You create structure that moves you forward even when you're tired. You wake up knowing what matters. You spend intentionally. You work with purpose. You grow consistently. And because of that, you feel free. You're not a slave to impulses, distractions, or regrets anymore. The person who can control their desires has already mastered the hardest part of wealth. Because if you can say no to what doesn't serve you now, you can say yes to everything that will serve you later. The formula of the few. Here's what most people never understand. Wealth equals discipline times time. Not luck. Not intelligence. Not talent. Discipline creates the actions and time multiplies them. That's why the undisciplined stay broke. They want instant results without patient repetition. But the disciplined? They play the long game. They know that what's boring now builds what's beautiful later. You can either suffer the pain of discipline today or the pain of regret tomorrow. But only one of them pays dividends. The identity of the disciplined. When you practice discipline long enough, it stops feeling like sacrifice. It becomes self-respect. You start to realize that saying no isn't punishment, it's protection. You're protecting your vision, your future, your peace. Discipline becomes who you are, not just what you do. It's how you walk, how you talk, how you think. And when that happens, wealth follows naturally. Because the person you're becoming can now handle the abundance that's coming. Final thoughts. Discipline is the invisible wealth that precedes visible wealth. It's not flashy. It's not fun. But it's foundational. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the wishers from the winners. When you master discipline, you no longer chase success. You attract it. You no longer seek motivation, you embody it. You no longer fight against yourself. You lead yourself. So if you want to go from debt to wealth, start here. Train your mind to do what's right, not what's easy. Because wealth doesn't begin with a big break. It begins with a small decision. To stay consistent when nobody's watching. To keep showing up when it's boring. To stay true when shortcuts look tempting. That's the secret the world doesn't talk about. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. Discipline over desire. That's the real wealth formula. Chapter 8. Momentum and Money, Turning Small Steps into Freedom. There's a secret force that separates the successful from the stuck. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's momentum. Momentum is invisible energy, the quiet compound effect of small, consistent actions over time. It's what transforms ordinary effort into unstoppable progress. It's the reason why some people seem to suddenly succeed after years of silence. But here's the truth. There's no sudden in success. There's only momentum, built slowly, patiently, intentionally. And when it comes to money, momentum is everything. Because money rewards direction, not perfection. You don't have to move fast, you just have to keep moving. The power of forward motion. When you start working toward financial freedom, it's easy to get discouraged. You look at your debts, your bills, your income, and it feels overwhelming. You start wondering, will my small efforts even make a difference? But here's what most people don't realize. Your breakthrough doesn't come from big leaps, it comes from tiny repeated steps. The moment you take control, even a little, the universe takes notice. You begin shifting from being a reactor to being a creator. And that energy, that sense of direction, it multiplies. Momentum is not built in a day. It's built daily. It's when you decide to save instead of spend. It's when you choose to learn instead of complain. It's when you start tracking your money instead of avoiding it. Each of these small steps might look insignificant, but together they start creating movement. And once you have movement, you're no longer stuck. Momentum doesn't just change your finances, it changes you. You go from waiting for motivation to creating it. You go from hoping for change to producing it. You go from talking about your goals to living them. The compound effect in motion. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. They try to sprint their way to success, then burn out because they see little progress. But wealth doesn't grow in bursts, it grows in layers. Every smart decision you make stacks on top of the previous one. When you save consistently, your money grows. When you learn consistently, your skills expand. When you take disciplined actions daily, your habits solidify. And eventually, these small wins start compounding, quietly but powerfully. It's like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, it barely moves. You push and it feels pointless. But with each rotation, it gets a little easier, a little faster. And then suddenly, it starts spinning on its own. That's what momentum feels like in your life. At first, effort feels heavy. But once consistency takes over, effort becomes energy. You stop forcing progress. Progress starts pulling you forward. Why people lose momentum? Momentum is fragile. You can build it for weeks and lose it in days if you stop nurturing it. Most people don't lose because they failed, they lose because they paused. They got distracted, discouraged, or comfortable. They told themselves, I'll start again next month, not realizing momentum doesn't wait. Momentum rewards those who keep going, especially when they don't feel like it. Because the hardest part of any transformation isn't starting, it's staying consistent after the excitement fades. So protect your progress. Even if you mess up, don't stop. Even if you take a step back, take another forward. Momentum loves motion, even small motion. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to refuse to quit. Turning financial momentum into freedom. Let's talk about what this means practically. Maybe you've started saving a small amount every week. At first, it doesn't seem like much, $10 here, $20 there. But then, after months, it grows. You realize you have a cushion. That small cushion changes your mindset. You feel safer. That safety gives you confidence. That confidence gives you clarity. And with clarity, you make better decisions. That's momentum. It's not about the money itself. It's about the shift in power. You're no longer operating from fear, but from freedom. Freedom doesn't come when you have millions in the bank. It starts when you gain control. When you stop reacting to your money and start directing it. Because once you start controlling small amounts wisely, bigger amounts follow naturally. If you can manage $100 with focus, you'll manage $10,000 with wisdom. But if you mismanage $100, more money won't fix it, it'll amplify it. That's why momentum must start now, with whatever you have. Momentum loves direction. Momentum without direction is chaos. If you don't know where you're going, all your energy just spins in circles. So get clear. Decide what wealth means to you. Is it peace of mind? Is it being debt-free? Is it the ability to travel, to give, to build something that lasts? Once you know your direction, momentum starts working for you instead of against you. When you have purpose, discipline becomes natural. You stop feeling like you're forcing yourself to stay focused, because now you're driven. Clarity gives momentum meaning. And when your movement has meaning, you don't burn out, you grow stronger. The energy of progress. Here's something most people don't talk about. Momentum creates emotional energy. When you see yourself making progress, even small progress, your confidence skyrockets. You start thinking differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. Because deep down you feel your life shifting. And that feeling is addictive, in a good way. You start craving growth instead of comfort. You start chasing purpose instead of pleasure. You start believing in your own ability again. That emotional shift changes everything. Your finances improve because your faith improves. Your faith improves because your focus improves. And your focus improves because you built momentum. That's why this chapter isn't just about money, it's about energy. Wealth is energy in motion. Momentum is what keeps that energy alive. Momentum multiplies opportunities. Have you noticed that when things start going right, more good things start happening? That's not luck. That's momentum attracting momentum. When you start moving, life meets you halfway. Opportunities appear that weren't visible before. You meet people, ideas, and chances that match your new level of action. It's not magic, it's alignment. The universe responds to persistence. Not perfection, not pressure, persistence. When you keep showing up, even imperfectly, doors begin to open. That's momentum at work. The only people who never experience it are the ones who quit too early. How to keep your momentum alive. Track your progress. Write down every win, even small ones. They remind you that your efforts matter. Set short-term goals. Don't just dream about financial freedom. Focus on something achievable this week or this month. Review, don't regret. If you fall off track, don't shame yourself. Reflect, realign, and restart. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Each step counts. Don't wait until you're done to feel proud. Surround yourself with momentum. Be around people who move, not people who complain. Energy is contagious. The moment it clicks, there's a point in every journey where you suddenly feel the shift. You look back and realize you're no longer where you started. You may not be rich yet, but you're no longer poor in spirit. You may still be paying off debt, but you now see a path forward. That's the moment momentum becomes your ally. From there, everything accelerates. Your mindset, your confidence, your financial results, they all rise together. You don't have to chase success anymore. You've become the kind of person success chases. Final thoughts. Momentum is the invisible hand that turns effort into excellence. It's what transforms financial struggle into financial flow. It's what turns small daily choices into lifelong freedom. Never underestimate the power of starting small. Because small wins build confidence. Confidence builds momentum. And momentum builds mastery. You don't need to see the entire staircase, just take the next step. Because once you start moving, life starts moving with you. And before you know it, you'll realize something beautiful. You were never stuck, you were just standing still. Now it's time to move. One step. Every day. Forward. That's how you turn small actions into financial freedom. That's how you turn motion into momentum. That's how you go from debt to wealth, for real. Chapter 9. The emotional side of wealth. Money isn't just numbers on a screen or cash in your hand, it's energy. It carries emotion. It mirrors your beliefs, your fears, and your sense of worth. That's why two people can earn the same income and live completely different financial realities. One feels stressed, always running out of money. The other feels peace, always in control. The difference isn't in their bank accounts, it's in their emotions. Until you heal your emotional relationship with money, no amount of strategy will bring lasting freedom. Because you can't manage what you secretly fear. And you can't attract what you constantly resent. Wealth is emotional before it's financial. You must master the inside game before the outside rewards appear. Money mirrors you. Here's something most people never realize. Your money habits are reflections of your emotions. When you feel insecure, you spend to feel significant. When you feel powerless, you avoid checking your accounts. When you feel stressed, you chase quick fixes that promise relief. Money doesn't change people, it reveals them. It shows where your fears live, where your pride hides, and where your peace ends. That's why you must look at your finances not just as math, but as a mirror. Ask yourself, what emotions drive my spending? Do I spend to feel better, to look better, or to escape something? Do I associate money with freedom or with fear? When I think of wealth, what emotion do I feel first? Excitement or guilt? Your answers reveal your emotional script. Because everyone has one, a subconscious story about what money means. And that story silently directs every decision you make. The emotional weight of debt. Debt isn't just financial, it's emotional weight. It whispers in the back of your mind, creating pressure and guilt. You feel like you're running a race you can't win. But here's what's powerful, that emotion can either crush you or fuel you. If you see debt as a life sentence, it drains your energy. If you see debt as a teacher, it changes you. Debt can teach you discipline. It can teach you awareness. It can teach you the power of saying no to instant gratification. The goal isn't just to pay it off, it's to become the kind of person who never repeats the same patterns. Because paying off debt doesn't make you free if your mindset stays enslaved. True freedom begins when you stop attaching shame to your past decisions and start using those lessons to create better ones. You can't move forward while hating where you've been. So forgive yourself. You did the best you could with what you knew. Now you know better, and that means you can do better. Emotional triggers and financial traps. Emotions are powerful, but when unmanaged, they become expensive. Think about it. How many purchases came from emotions, not logic? The reward meal after a hard week. The impulsive buy to feel successful. The unnecessary upgrade just to feel secure. That's emotional spending, and it's one of the biggest wealth killers. It's not that buying nice things is wrong, it's buying them to fill a void that never stays full. Because money can't fix emotional emptiness. It can only amplify what's already there. If you buy from insecurity, you'll always need more. If you spend from fear, you'll always feel lack. If you save from anxiety, you'll never feel safe. That's why emotional intelligence is financial intelligence. Before you make any financial decision, pause and ask, what emotion is driving me right now? Am I acting out of peace or pressure? Am I buying this because it adds value, or because I need validation? Those small pauses save not just money, they save your future. Healing your money wounds. Many people grew up hearing conflicting messages about money. Don't talk about it. Don't want too much. Money changes people. And so, they developed guilt for wanting more, guilt for asking, guilt for succeeding. If that's you, it's time to release that emotional baggage. You are not wrong for wanting wealth. You are not greedy for desiring freedom. You are not shallow for caring about financial peace. Money doesn't change your heart, it exposes it. If you're kind, generous, and humble now, more money will magnify that goodness. The key to healing is changing what money means to you. Money isn't your master, it's your servant. It's a tool, not your identity. Once you see it that way, the fear dissolves. You stop feeling anxious around it and start feeling aligned with it. You can finally talk about money without shame. You can finally build wealth without guilt. You can finally see abundance without fear. The emotional highs and lows of success. Even as you build wealth, the emotional journey continues. There will be days of excitement, when you hit milestones, when your efforts pay off. And there will be days of doubt, when progress feels slow, when fear creeps back in. But that's okay. That's part of growth. Wealth is not a straight line. It's a wave of emotions you must learn to ride. The difference between those who quit and those who win is not that the winners never feel fear. It's that they keep moving through it. They don't let emotion dictate direction. They let vision lead and emotion follow. The key is emotional resilience. Learn to stay calm when money flows out and grateful when it flows in. Learn to trust your systems instead of panicking in scarcity. Learn to breathe before you react. That balance, that emotional maturity, is true wealth. Because wealth isn't peace you buy, it's peace you build inside. Gratitude, the emotional magnet of abundance. Nothing multiplies money like gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's possible. It tells your mind, I already have enough, and that means I'm ready for more. When you're grateful, you attract. When you complain, you repel. That's not just spiritual talk, it's psychological truth. The brain can't focus on lack and opportunity at the same time. So when you live in gratitude, you automatically become more creative, more resourceful, more open. Try this. Every day thank your money. Yes, literally. When you pay a bill, say, "Thank you for allowing me to handle this." When you save, say, "Thank you for growing." When you give, say, "Thank you for circulating and returning." It may sound small, but that practice rewires your entire emotional state. Money begins to feel lighter. You stop feeling anxious, you start feeling empowered. Gratitude turns fear into faith, and faith fuels financial growth. Emotional balance equals financial balance. When your emotions are steady, your money becomes steady. You stop swinging between extremes, overspending then over-restricting, hustling then burning out. You move with rhythm, not reaction. You operate from vision, not validation. That's balance, not just in your bank account but in your being. And when you reach that balance, wealth no longer feels like chasing. It feels like aligning. Final thoughts. Your financial breakthrough will not just come from spreadsheets, budgets, or investments. It will come from emotional transformation. You can't master money until you master yourself. So heal your relationship with money. Forgive your past. Detach your worth from your wallet. And start using emotion as your ally, not your enemy. Because wealth isn't just built in the mind, it's built in the heart. When your emotions are at peace, your finances follow. When you lead with gratitude, opportunities multiply. When you love yourself enough to handle money well, abundance starts chasing you. That's the emotional side of wealth, the part most people ignore, yet the part that truly changes everything. Once your heart is aligned, your hands will build faster. Once your energy is healed, your wealth will grow naturally. Because peace is the highest form of prosperity. And when you master that, you've already won. Chapter 10. Invest in yourself before you invest in anything else. Every wealthy person understands one timeless truth. You are your greatest investment. Before stocks, before real estate, before business, you are the foundation everything else is built on. You are the asset that either appreciates or depreciates. And unlike the market, you have full control over your own growth. Yet most people overlook this. They chase external investments before internal development. They want returns before they've built the capacity to handle them. But the truth is simple. Money doesn't grow where the mind hasn't. You can't hold on to abundance your character isn't ready for. And that's why the richest investments begin within. The greatest ROI comes from personal growth. Think about it. When you invest in yourself, your knowledge, your mindset, your skills, you create returns that compound for life. Books don't just give information, they upgrade your perspective. Courses don't just teach, they train your thinking. Mentorship doesn't just guide you, it compresses time. The moment you grow, everything around you grows. Opportunities that once looked invisible suddenly appear. Conversations start flowing in your favor. Decisions become sharper. And confidence replaces confusion. You realize that wealth was never just about working harder, it was about thinking higher. The world pays for value. And value comes from growth. That means the more you grow, the more valuable you become. Every skill you master adds a new stream of potential income. Every fear you conquer increases your capacity for opportunity. Every book you read expands the level of wealth you can manage. That's why investing in yourself has infinite returns. Because you are the only investment that appreciates with intention. The cost of not growing. There's a hidden tax most people pay, the cost of staying the same. Not improving your skills? That's costing you opportunities. Avoiding discomfort? That's costing you growth. Refusing to learn about money? That's costing you freedom. People often say, what if I spend on learning and it doesn't pay off? But what if you don't spend and stay stuck for years? The real risk isn't in investing in yourself, it's in not doing it. Stagnation is expensive. Ignorance is costly. Comfort is dangerous. Every day you delay your growth, you delay your wealth. The world moves fast. Technology shifts. Markets change. New opportunities arise. If your skills don't evolve, you'll watch life pass you by, not because you weren't smart, but because you stopped learning. So the next time you hesitate to invest in a book, a course, or a mentor, ask yourself, am I really saving money, or am I just postponing my progress? Because the greatest cost is not money, it's time. And time doesn't refund. Building a wealth mindset first. Before you invest $1 outside, invest 1,000 thoughts inside. Learn how money truly works. Understand how the wealthy think, how they view risk, patience, and opportunity. Study how to control emotion under pressure, how to stay consistent when progress is slow. That's your mental portfolio, your foundation of wealth. Because here's what happens when you skip that step. You get money before you're mentally ready and then you lose it. You chase quick profits and end up in emotional debt. You follow hype and ignore wisdom. But when your mindset matures, every move becomes calculated. You stop chasing trends, you start creating strategies. You stop reacting, you start building. The wealth mindset is calm, disciplined, patient, and clear. It knows that self-investment precedes financial expansion. You don't attract abundance by hoping, you prepare for it. The 3 core areas of self-investment. If you want to invest in yourself powerfully, focus on these 3 areas. Knowledge. Read daily. Listen to people who've done what you want to do. Study personal finance, business, psychology, communication. Everything that makes you sharper. Every page adds wisdom. Every new skill multiplies potential. Health. You can't build wealth in a body that's breaking down. Energy is your first currency. Eat better, rest well, move often, breathe deeply. Your health determines your capacity to perform, think, and persist. Environment. Who you spend time with is an investment decision. The people around you are either lifting your mindset or lowering your standard. Choose conversations that stretch you, not drain you. Surround yourself with growth energy, people who push you to become your best. Investing in these 3 pillars turns you into a wealth magnet, physically, mentally, and emotionally aligned for success. Mentorship, the shortcut to mastery. One of the fastest ways to accelerate your success is through mentorship. A good mentor doesn't just teach you what to do, they show you what to avoid. They've walked the road you're trying to walk. They've made the mistakes you don't have to repeat. When you find a mentor, you collapse years of trial and error into months of focused action. Sometimes, one conversation can save you from losing thousands of dollars. One piece of advice can change your entire strategy. One word of encouragement can keep you moving when you're ready to quit. But remember, mentorship requires humility. You can't learn if you're too proud to listen. Ask questions. Stay teachable. Respect experience. Because every successful person you admire is standing on the shoulders of someone who taught them how to climb. Your skills are your assets. We live in an economy where skills are currency. Your ability to think, solve problems, create value, and communicate effectively, that's what determines your wealth ceiling. It's not about how many hours you work, it's about how valuable those hours are. If you can turn ideas into action, you'll never run out of opportunities. If you can sell, communicate, or lead, you'll always have income options. If you can adapt fast, no market shift can break you. So build skills that compound, skills that can't be taken away. Because while money can disappear, mastery stays. And mastery always attracts more money. Reinvesting in your growth. Even when you start earning, don't stop learning. The moment you think you've arrived, your growth stops and decline begins. The wealthy know this. They're lifelong students. They reinvest a portion of every gain into more learning. When you make money, don't just spend it, multiply it through growth. Buy courses. Hire coaches. Expand your network. Attend events. Every reinvestment keeps your momentum alive. Because the person who keeps growing is unstoppable, they evolve faster than obstacles appear.